Firstly, we need to design the network that are presented here and connect each of the devices using correct connection. First, we need to connect both PC1 and PC2 to switch. Then switch to router, and lastly connect the switch to wireless router. All of this connection we will use straight through cable because these cables are mainly used for connecting non-similar devices.
Before we set up an IP address for each devices, we need to calculate an IP address based on the network address from the question given, which is 192.19.0.0/18. /18 is a prefix for this network address, and if you translate to subnet mask, it will be 255.255.192.0. Now, to find the number of usable hosts, we need to use this formula, which is 2 to the power of n. N is actually the number of 0 that is in the subnet mask, which is 2 to the power of 40 minus 2 because we need to subtract the network address and the broadcast address since it's not usable, and equal it will become 16,384 minus 2, and then we will get 16,382 usable hosts. Then to calculate the number of subnet, we will use this formula, which is 2 to the power of s. S is the number of ones that are in the subnet mask, which is 2. Then we will get 4 subnet. Then we need to find the first address, last address, and the broadcast address. First address, we just add 1 at the very back of the network address. We will get 192.19.0.1. For the last address, we need to use an XNOR to calculate between the first address of the first subnet, then the subnet mask. Then we will get 192.19.63.254. And for the broadcast address, we will get 192.19.63.255. Now that we already calculate the first subnet, we need to find the remaining 3 subnet, the second, the third, and the fourth. For the second subnet, we need to find the network address, first address, last address, and broadcast address. Network address, which is 192.19.64.0, and then the first subnet, which is 192.19.64.1. The last address, as before, we need to use an XNOR to calculate between the first address of the second subnet and then the subnet mask, and we will get 192.19.127.254. For the broadcast address, we will get 192.19.127.255. Because we just add 1 at the very back of the last address, we will get this broadcast address. Now for the third subnet, the network address will be 192.19.128.0, and for the first subnet, the first address, we will get 192.19.128.1. For the last address, we need to use an XNOR as before to calculate between the first address of the third subnet and the subnet mask. We will get 192.19.191.254, and then the broadcast address 192.119.191.255. And then lastly, for the first subnet, the network address will be 192.19.192.0. The first address will be 192.19.192.1. Just add 1 at the back of the network address. We get the first address. And then for the last address, XNOR it between the first address of the first address of the fourth subnet and then the subnet mask, and we will get 192.19.255.254. Then we will get the broadcast address, which is 192.19.255.255.
Third, set up the network topology in packet traces and configure basic router settings. To set up a hostname, we will use our metric number as a hostname for this router. Then we set a banner MOTD by typing in the command and using the sentence authorized user only. To secure from remote connection, the command that we use are line VTY from 0 to 4, then type password as Cisco. After that, type in login. Other than that, to secure privilege exit mode, firstly we must return to global configuration mode by type in exit. Then we use command enable secret Cisco. Last but not least, to encrypt all the password we have set, we use command service password encryption.
To set an IP address for each devices, We will use an IP address at false subnet as per request from the question. First, click PC1 and go to IP configuration. Then fill in the IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. Do the same to PC2. To set an IP address for router, click the router, then go to CLI and type in int gig 0/0/0/. Tap enter, then type in IP at 192.19.192.1, 255.255.192.0 and tap enter. Type in no shut, then enter. The status will come out like this. Since the laptop in default is set as wired connection, we must change the module in all 3 laptops to the wireless one so we can connect it to the wireless router wirelessly. Then we can set up a wireless configuration by clicking the wireless router, then click GUI. Then we must type in the IP address that has been given from the question, the subnet mask, the start of IP address, and the maximum number of users. Then click the save settings. Then on basic wireless settings, give a name of SSID based on the question, and then click the save setting. After that, we go to the wireless security and choose what security mode we want, whether it is WPA or WPA2 personal, since it is a very strong wireless security. Then type in any passphrase we want. Then click on the wireless MAC filter and click enabled. Since we want to prevent laptop 2 from connected to wireless router, we must find out its physical address by going to laptop 2 and click on desktop. Then the command prompt. On command prompt, type in ipconfig/all and it will show all the information regarding laptop 2. Copy the physical address, then went back to wireless router, then to wireless MAC filter and paste the physical address on the list. This will prevent laptop 2 from accessing the wireless network.
To connect the laptop to wireless router, firstly go to laptop 1 and click PC wireless. Then click the connect button and click the refresh button. When the wireless network name appear, click the name then click connect. After that, when this show up, type in the password that has been set up in wireless router. Then click connect. Then the laptop has been connected to wireless router wirelessly. Do the same to the laptop 2 and 3. But for laptop 2, it's be prevented from accessing the wireless network because its physical address has been filtered during wireless configuration.
To know all about the configuration we have made before on the router, type show run command on the router then tap enter. It will show all the current configuration from the hostname to IP address of the router. Then the show IP interface brief command to display all interfaces on the router, the IP address assigned to each interface.
Firstly, we must click PC1 then click on command prompt to use the ping command. So we ping from PC1 to router by type in ping IP address for router which is destination device. If the destination device give a reply, then the ping is successful. Then do the same to the laptop 1 by ping from laptop 1 to laptop 3.